What is the best font? Well, that's easy. The best font is, really? Do you really think I've got a quick answer for you? No. But I promise it's not the longest answer either. In this video, I'm going to whip through what makes a great font and leave you with a short checklist to help you choose the best font for you. I'm Dom Hennequin, and welcome to What is the Best Font? Fonts have always been an important part of branding, and today more so than ever. That's because brands, big and small, extend beyond logos and products into online experiences that involve text. Everything from Instagram posts to home buttons on websites or apps require choosing fonts. But choosing a font involves more than just scrolling through a list and picking the one you like. Fonts cost money to license, and even when you pay for them, they might not work across all apps, operating systems, or web browsers. That's why a lot of brands now create their own fonts. A few years ago, I actually did a video on this for Envato, talking about how CNN, Apple, and Google had created their own fonts that all looked pretty similar to Helvetica. IBM, who'd spent decades paying over $1 million a year to license Helvetica, created their own font, Plex. And since then, even more brands have joined the fray, including Coke, the BBC, Samsung, Warner Brothers, YouTube, and Google. Again. Today, bespoke fonts are a standard element of branding. While I'm not about to advocate for you to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars commissioning a bespoke font, I do want to look at a couple of examples to emphasize the power of a good font choice. First up, in 2019, as part of a massive rebrand, film studio Warner Brothers introduced a new font, Warner Brothers Sans. Inspired by the elongated letters in the iconic Shield logo, which design agency Pentagram remastered for the digital age, each letter echoes the history of the brand. Look at how the R and the P resemble the B in the Shield. Look at how the W and the M mimic the wedges in the Shield's W. Each character, in every case and every weight, oozes the classic cartoonish quality of Warner Brothers. In 2018, Airbnb launched their bespoke font, Serial. The name alone is clearly attached to the air mattress B&B concept that inspired the whole company. The letters in the accompanying visuals are scattered and tilted as if floating in a bowl of milk. All the characters are playful and friendly, with rounded dots on the lowercase I, periods, and other punctuation marks. They're also highly legible, with the grooves in the lowercase n and r widened slightly. The font is functional and highly flexible, with a wide range of weights so it's legible at smaller spaces and sizes, all the way up to billboards. These brands could have used existing fonts that frankly would have looked pretty similar, but the way that these fonts are purpose-built for how these brands want to use them make the time and money spent on them worth it. But what if you're choosing an existing font? To help you pick a font for yourself or your brand, here are some tips. Number 1, you need to look for a font that matches the character of your brand. The roundness or crispness of each letter, the grooves, the dots, the sharp edges, these are all things to consider. Serifs are older style fonts with flicks and curves, like this Addington CF font family from Envato Elements author Connery, or the Abinyale typeface from Envato Elements author Erwin Wismoyo, inspired by old letterpress fonts. Whereas sans serifs are the opposite with more streamlined features, like the Deutschlander font by Sharkshock, or the clean and modern Prox typeface by Typogamma. Brands will generally choose one or the other for hero or logo type, but will sometimes pair these with another font in a different style as a secondary option. Airmail, who use a wide sans serif font for their logo, use a serif font for their headings and body text. Sans serifs are great options for smaller areas like UI labels or subheadings. Take a look at how the New York Times use serifs in their headings and body text, but a sans serif font for their subheadings and UI labeling. Different styles create hierarchy and allow you to have versatility. But whether you prefer a sans serif, a wide or a narrow font, you should try and find versions in each style that fit your brand. That way, you've always got a wide toolbox to grab from. Number 2, a font that has a range of weights and styles. Aside from matching the character of your brand, this is the second most important thing to me when choosing a font. You don't want to be limited to regular or bold when you're picking a font that you intend to use for many years. We live in a time where we need to constantly adapt to different screen sizes, canvas sizes, print dimensions, and more. Different weights and styles are fundamental to help you do that with ease. Generally, you'll want to have options that span from thin all the way to black. Like the Godiya font from Envato Elements author, Twin Letter, which has thin, regular, bold, and black. Or the Walter font by Design Nova, which has thin, light, regular, bold, and heavy options. There's also a new breed of font called a variable font, where you can drag a fader all the way from the thinnest and lightest to the boldest and blackest really easily. You'll definitely want italic versions in all the weights as well. Trust me, it's an important feature to have and it gives you more ways to express yourself in copy. Plus, it's a must-have if you're using the font for body text, as there are times you'll need to emphasize words, site titles, and so on. Finally, you may want to look for fonts with condensed and widened versions. Again, this gives you more flexibility when you're fitting your text into smaller canvases or trying to draw more attention to a headline with a wider option. Number 3, a font that has all the characters. It sounds pretty simple, but it's stumped me before. Check through all the characters and make sure, firstly, the font has both upper and lowercase options, but also all the numbers, punctuation marks, and symbols you need. It's a sneaky one, but in the wild world of endless font options, it's not always assured, so check. You need to look for a font that is web safe. Not all fonts come pre-installed on people's devices. That's why fonts like Arial and Helvetica are so popular. Once you've found a font you like, check that it's web safe, either in the font library you're grabbing it from. For instance, if you're searching through Envato Elements, just hit the WebSafe checkbox in the Filters section, or you can check by referring to sites like HubSpot and their ultimate list of WebSafe fonts. The last thing you want is to spend all this time picking a font only for it to be replaced by something generic on people's devices, so be sure to check. Number 5, you need to look for a font that's legible and accessible. Can you actually read the font? It's a simple question and a fundamental part of why you're using a font in the first place. And what if you have poor vision or are neurodivergent? The Airbnb font I showed before is great because the little extra gaps they've made in the grooves, along with the curved cutouts in the lowercase a, the punctuation marks, and the clean strokes of the capital R, these all improve legibility and accessibility at every size. Fonts like Helvetica have been used so much over the years because they're easy to read for most people. But Helvetica has actually been remastered over the years to improve its readability. And even still, some of its characters, like its capital R with a rounded leg, aren't easily readable at tiny sizes, which is why Apple's font SF Pro straightens it out. It's just the most obvious of a number of tweaks it made to Helvetica. Sorry, that it made to its completely original font, so that it can be readable on everything from watches to cinema screens. To test legibility, get a friend to read some stuff in your chosen font, from big sizes to small, to see what they can read. Kind of like an optometry test, but fun. So, what is the best font? Well, it's Helvetica. Just kidding. It might be Helvetica, or Gill Sans, or Tahoma. Probably not Tahoma. But seriously, it can be one of hundreds of options out there. A lot of fonts like them have stood the test of time because they're stylish, functional, and flexible. And because they're so standardized that people are familiar with them and unfazed when they encounter them. But the real question I've been trying to answer in this video is, what is the best font for you? So once again, the answer is a font that matches the character of your brand. Sans serif, serif, wide, narrow, rounded, sleek, sharp. Make some decisions. What style best reflects your brand? A font with weights and styles. From ultralight to extra black to italic, wide, and condensed. You might be using this font for decades and creating a whole communication hierarchy around it. So be sure that your chosen font is versatile enough to work on everything from business cards to billboards. A font with all the characters. You don't want to get too far down the line and discover that your chosen font doesn't have a comma. Before you download or buy, be sure to check that it has all the characters and cases that you need. A font that is web safe. Make sure that your font can actually be viewed across devices, operating systems, and web browsers. A font that is legible and accessible. Make sure that your font can be read at any size by anyone, from tiny watch faces to giant cinema screens. So, after all that, what is the best font? Well, if you've watched this video, hopefully, yours. Check out the cool Envato Elements fonts I mentioned in this video in the description, or head to elements.envato.com.